Hello?
Hello, is this Anthony?
Hey, what's up, buddy? How you doing?
I am excellent. I'm excited to talk with you today if this is still a good time.
Yeah, I'm over here at Firestone. They're just fixing up my car because I'm going to San Diego this weekend. So I had to go down here and check on everything before I go out of here. And I have my grandchild with me, too, so I want to make sure the car's running right. But they're working on the car now, so I got time.
Excellent. Well, first I want to ask you about your new book, Little Anthony, My Journey, My Destiny. I hear it's being reprinted, so it must be doing pretty well.
It's doing very well. I'm happy about that because I didn't know where that's going because a lot of times, there seems to be, I'm exaggerating, like a million autobiographies out there. But I guess there are a lot of people that were interested in what I had to write, which is, I've had Bill O'Reilly actually read it, and he said it's like a history book. And then I've had people who read it said it's a book of destiny. I mean, everybody sees it a little bit different, and I think what happens is they get to know me for who I really am, rather than what they perceive that I am. And so, in that respect, I'm very happy about that. And then to be told it's in the second printing is pretty cool.
Well, yeah, and you've obviously had a life that could easily fill a book, and I know when the Imperials kind of burst onto the scene with Tears on My Pillow, that song was huge right out of the gate. Was that at all jarring to kind of have such a big hit right away when you guys first started?
You're not too young. You don't understand that stuff. When you're a teenager like that, 17 years old, you don't think of anything like that. All you know is that it's being played over the radio, and there's a lot more girls coming around, and that's about the extent of any intellectual thing you had in your brain about it. But as I look back in retrospect, and hindsight being 2020, oh my goodness, I didn't realize that I would be in this business for so many years. Well, actually, I've been in the business 60 years, since 1955. And who knew at the time that it would extend that long, Yeah. And to be successful at it all these years, it's a real blessing, man. So.
Well, I want to ask you about your memories of that time. I know you were right in the mix with the Doo-wop groups and, of course, the early R&B and then into the beginning of rock. That was quite a crazy time in our country.
Yeah, well, a lot of people use that phase of doo-wop, and actually, I like to set the record straight. There's no such thing as doo-wop. It was R&B back in the day. We're talking around 55, 54, 53, groups like the Flamingos, the Orioles. That's all R&B. That doo-wop thing came from a disc jockey in 1973. I believe his name was Gus Gossage in New York City. And he was trying to explain that era to his disco, because that was a disco era then. And he didn't know how to explain it, and he only thought of it through what he understood being in New York and hearing the New York type groups, which were really the Duprees, the Elegants, those kind of groups. And he didn't know what to call them, and it wasn't, actually at that time it was all race music anyway, and the black groups were doing all R&B stuff. So what he did was broad stroke everything. He says doo-wop. Well, we have nothing to do with doo-wop. They do, because he got the idea from one of the backgrounds in the song was doo-wop, doo-wop, doo-wop in one of those groups. And so you assume that that's what everybody is, but you can't place a group like the Flamingos in that area. When you do a song like I Only Have Eyes for You, which is a classic that you hear all the time, especially in commercials. So that's not doo-wop. Or Most of All, or I can go on and on. No. I know it's a label that came out of nowhere, but I don't accept it because it's not part of what I came up in. I suppose other groups did. Those, the Duprees and all them came out of that era. They were doing their thing, but actually that came out of the R&B. That's one of the reasons why I'm in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'm not in any category for doo-wop. There is no category for doo-wop in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'm in there for R&B. So it was really R&B. I really don't relate to that stuff.
Well, and of course, you mentioned being in the business for 60 years, and I know around that time when you started out, kind of a sad time in our country's history, with race relations and segregation. Did you guys run into a lot of issues with that, despite how successful you were?
Ain't no way you were going to avoid it. Especially if you were playing in the South. It's the most oddest thing in the world to have people enjoying you and at the same time want to kill you. I mean, it's crazy. It was a sick time in this country that made no sense. And it was absolutely just born out of the Civil War and slavery, and it just got into a situation where it became Jim Crow, we call. So almost like apartheid. You're separated. So you're not a first-class citizen, you're a second-class citizen. Now, you understand, I'm from Brooklyn, New York, you know? And, I mean, I'm sure there was some sort of subtle racism everywhere, but not as so blatant as it was in the South. And it was very, 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 very tough for me because I was used to moving around, doing what I wanted to do. And here I'm told I can't drink from that fountain. I can't do this. I can't go to the movies and just go and sit wherever I want. I can't. That's all we got. So many times I hear people tell me, "Oh yeah, those were the good old days." I said, "No. These are the good old days." I mean, maybe for you, but as a black man at that time it was a horror story. So yes, I experienced all of that kind of stuff. Yes.
Well, of course, eventually you went into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So really, I mean, you kind of got the last laugh when it comes to that sort of stuff then.
Well, I never thought of it that way, that bitter about anything. I'm just thank God I'm alive because I know some of my contemporaries got actually killed. And I faced a lot of adversity and fear, because it's written in the book what we went through. We had to arm ourselves, literally, in Texas by guns and on the tour that I did. I did several tours over those years. But how do you do that? So I didn't expect that. My mom was from Savannah, Georgia, and my father was from Charleston, and they warned me. They said, "Now, Anthony, when you go down there, you got to expect this." You got to understand, I'm a kid out of Brooklyn. The farthest things to me was Jersey. I mean, I thought that was another country. And all of a sudden, I'm thrust into this. I don't know how well it was, but it was not a fun time. As a singer, you figured, "Oh, I got a hit record," and you think about all of the wonderful things supposed to come from being a celebrity. But at that time, that was not it was more of it wasn't an asset. It was a liability for us, the black singers. Yeah.
Well, I want to ask you, I know you mentioned a lot of the great R&B groups from back in the day, but the Imperials, I think one of the few groups that had hits in the 50s, 60s, even through the 70s. What is it about you guys you think that you had that maybe other groups didn't?
Well, I always tell people they have to understand there's two entities here. I'm not an Imperial. Now, that's going to sound crazy. I was not an Imperial in 1958 until I was cut out of the herd by Alan Freed. And he began to call me Little Anthony for reasons that there's a legend about that. And that separated me, just like Diana Ross was separated from the Supremes and Smokey Robinson was separated from the Miracles. Once that happens, you're no longer an Imperial. And there were many Imperials. We had so many changeover in the group. It's amazing. I've had people come in and show me albums, and I'm looking at the albums, and you see different people all over the place, and they look at it like, okay, can you sign? Like, I got two new guys, because the other two are retired. There's only one original guy left in the Imperials, and that's Ernest Wright. But people will come, and they'll say, "Can you sign that?" And Robert would say, or Johnny, who knew, "Oh no, we weren't there." "Oh, sign it anyway." I mean, like, it's kind of strange, but I understand it's just human nature. But even now, I'm doing more solo. I'm not an Imperial. I started out as a kid. The name is given to us by the record company, but that's it's not really what it was. It just happened that I was Little Anthony. That's why I'm able to do infomercials as Little Anthony. And I want to ask for the Imperials. And who is the Imperials anyway? There's no original ones left. What happens, you got an industry out there that really profits from that. So they're not going to destroy something that brings in that money, But within my case, I always try to set the record straight, not in a negative way, but in a positive way, because most of the time, in fact, there was an agent I talked to not long ago. He said, "Anthony, you're so right." He says, "Ever try to sell the Imperials? Can't, because it doesn't matter. What matters is the Little Anthony and the Imperials. They're now somebody that I'm associated with, but I'm not an Imperial. I'm Little Anthony."
Well, yeah, I think it's awesome that you are still performing today, and you really show no signs of slowing down. I mean, are you going to be doing it until you can't anymore?
Yeah, till I die. Why not? It's fun, man. Singing is fun. It's a gift from God. Many people ask me, they said, "Hey, your voice, man, my gosh, it's like you haven't even changed." I said, "Well, it's not natural; it's supernatural. It's not. It's I always say it's from the Lord, and He lent it to me. It's not my voice. It is no way natural. You can do that." Tony Bennett we talked about that. There's only a few of us left that really have not lost where we were when we started out. Literally, I mean, you change a little here and there, but no, that's a real gift. It's just like Jimmy Scott. The late Jimmy Scott was one of those kind of guys. He was like almost 70 something or 80, and he was singing like he was 20. You know, so that's not an exception. That's not the rule. That's an exception. There's only a few of us that gift is given to. One is Tony Bennett, one is myself, and the late Mel Torme, and a few others. But other than that, Darlene Love, Jeff, you haven't lost a beat. So it's pretty cool, you know.
Well, yeah, with that being said, what are your thoughts on kind of the popular music today? Is there anyone out there that impresses you, or you think that you might be hearing about 60 years from now?
I'm blown out about Lady Gaga. I mean, she's tricked me. You know, I didn't see that coming. But then when I looked at her history, I find out that she was a cabaret singer, a jazz singer, before she became Lady Gaga. See how things work out? And obviously everybody saw it that way. But when she did the Grammys and did the Sound of Music, it blew everybody out of the room. So one of the reasons why Tony Bennett does a lot of duets with her, because he thinks she's one of the finest jazz singers. People don't realize how very talented she is. They just go by what she created, this illusion, you know, it means something that, you know, whatever, you know, that a lot of entertainers do, including me. I mean, I'm 5'8.5". I got, let me see, I got 9 children. I got 13 grandchildren and 5 great grandchildren, and they're still calling me little. So it's just it's just a way people can relate to you, and that's okay with me. That's cool. I don't mind being called Little Anthony. It's pretty cool. So it's all good, as the young people say.
Sure, yeah. And I want to ask you, I know you got a new song coming out with George Benson. Is there anything else you're working on, or anything else you want to mention?
We're doing an album, but we're doing it by single, which they probably, this is how they do it today. It's just the opposite. Yeah, I'm very blessed to have hooked up with him. We've known each other for 40-something years. And we always say, hey, man, one of these days we're going to do something together. You know, it never happened. And then finally, one day, I was at the right place at the right time. I just signed a contract with an independent label called Revival Records. And George had found out, and to another friend of mine, and we were talking, and he said, "Oh, George says give him a call." So I called him, and we just said, "Why not? What the heck?" So I went to the record head of the record company and said, "How would you think? Would that be cool?" He said, "Be great." And that's how that was done. And it was one of the best fun times I've had in years from the creative level as being an artist. There's nothing like singing with a guy like that, man. He is in another level.
Excellent. Yeah, looking forward to that. And again, Anthony, it's been an honor speaking with you today. I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, man.
All right, have a good one.
Bye-bye.